Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
What if European Union didn't exist?
This video is powered by the European Cultural Foundation.
what do you think if it didn't exist?
It would be no bueno. I think it's a good thing. I think it made life easier for a lot of people.
Europe, total chaos. Russia and Poland, inches from war. France and Italy, run by
I feel like
communists. Germany.
they can move from one country to another, but if everyone's rules are just different, it's like we're halfway there, but we haven't achieved to the point.
Well, yeah, I do think there's, that single market Europe that we keep seeing. I
Yeah.
think that's a necessity at this point. Always been a necessity, but I do see people are talking about it now. So I think that's the next right step to do. But once that is done, I think it's great. It's gonna be United
Yeah, I
States of
think
Europe.
it's gonna run. It's gonna run. The money's gonna be good.
Yeah,
It's
I
gonna
think so
benefit a
too.
lot.
Rich, but totally on its own. What if history had gone differently? Let's rewind to the year that everything could have fallen apart.
Is it Valhalla?
This was when 6 European countries came together to create the European Coal and Steel Community, a pact designed to make future wars between them not just unthinkable, but impossible, by binding their economies together. But in our alternate timeline, that never happens. The very idea of building something like the EU, a supranational institution that limits national sovereignty in the name of peace, was unprecedented in world history. The more likely outcome after World War II? The same as always, a Europe divided by national pride and competing interests. So in our alternate timeline, let's see how things could have played out without the creation of the EU. It's May 1950. Europe is still reeling from the devastation of war. Cities are rebuilding, economies are fragile, and memories of occupation are still fresh. Across the continent, hope and fear are locked in a delicate balance. But in France, politicians whisper of a bold new idea, the Schuman Plan, a radical proposal to link the coal and steel industries of France and Western Germany under a shared European authority. It's meant to secure peace, rebuild trust, and lay the groundwork for something entirely new. But in our alternate timeline, the plan leaks early, before the public is ready. And instead of cautious optimism, it sparks outrage. Nationalists and communist factions seize the very moment, warning of lost sovereignty
Oh.
and foreign control. The public
That took a turn quick. From okay, a public outrage to Nazis and communists took over. Okay.
blindsided, betrayed,
Wow.
and very angry. Mass
That's the
demonstrations erupt
perfect
in Paris and
opportunity.
beyond. And
I mean, yeah, but god damn, just like that.
under mounting pressure, the French National Assembly rejects the plan in June that very same year. Without France on board, confidence throughout Europe crumbles, and one by one, the other countries pull out too. The Schuman Plan is dead, and with it, the dream of a united Europe. At first, the consequences are small. No war breaks out, no border shift, but something deeper is missing: trust. Without the coal and steel community, there's no EEC, and without the EEC, there's no Maastricht Treaty, and without Maastricht, there's no European Union. Through the 1960s, Europe's economies grow, but not together. There's no common market, no movement. Each country praises tariffs, protects its own industries, and guards its sovereignty. The biggest problem: France and West Germany both want to lead, but neither trust the other, and without the EU binding them together, their rivalry grows stronger. In Paris, President Charles de Gaulle turns to what France knows best: diplomacy, defense, and national pride. He champions France's independent nuclear force and demands a France that can act on its own terms. Just like in real history, he withdraws from NATO's integrated military command. But in our timeline, he doubles down on France's colonial influence, especially in Algeria, Tunisia, and all of Western Africa. This causes independence wars across the continent, costing France dearly. But in foreign policy, France desperately wants to position itself as a third pole between the superpowers. Not American, not Soviet, but proudly French. Something very challenging for a small country like France. And there's a cost. Without access to the common European market, France shields its industries with tariffs and subsidies. And that buys time, but not growth. By the late 1960s, economic stagnation sets in. Youth unemployment rises, inflation bites, and the empire contracts. And the grandeur de Gaulle begins to feel increasingly out of step with reality. At the same time, in Bonn, Germany, Chancellor Konrad Adenauer and later Ludwig Erhard take a completely different path. Politically cautious, but economically assertive. West Germany rebuilds through industrial power and export-led growth. Without EU obligations, West Germany forges its own web of trade agreements, especially across Western and Central Europe. Austria, the Netherlands, Belgium, and Denmark are drawn into its industrial orbit. German factories churn out cars, chemicals, chemicals, and machine tools. And by the late 1960s, under Chancellor Kurt Georg Kiesinger, West Germany isn't just Europe's largest economy, it's quietly shaping the continent's supply chains. And while Germany is booming, France starts hitting a breaking point. May 1968. Protests erupt across the country.
How
Students,
he's pulling these dates though too.
Yeah,
He's like, oh May,
yeah.
exactly the date, huh?
workers, intellectuals, the unemployed. De Gaulle, under mounting pressure, finally calls snap elections, hoping for a clear mandate. And these protests really happened. But in our alternate timeline, the outcome is far worse, as there's no
Oh, so I guess the protests have happened. It's
Mhm.
just he's okay, I got it.
economic cushion from European integration. Living standards are simply lower, and public frustration runs deeper. And instead of a conservative victory, the result is a hung parliament. Communist and Soviet aligned parties surge, and the center collapses. And by 1970, de Gaulle resigns, with France entering a decade of instability. Then, in 1973, things get even worse. The oil crisis hits. Prices skyrocket, inflation soars, and growth collapses all across Europe. And with no common market, no energy strategy, and no coordination, the shock is devastating. France's fragile government crumbles once again, and this time the communists win a clear majority. Italy soon follows. The historic compromise between the communists and Christian Democrats, proposed to stabilize the country, never materializes. The crisis deepens, and Italy too elects a communist government outright. Two major Western European countries now fall into the Soviet orbit. The Iron Curtain doesn't just shadow the
Oh.
East anymore, it now moves west. Then in 1989,
Ooh,
something
we in
remarkable
trouble.
happens. The Berlin Wall falls, which, just like in our timeline, still happens. The Soviet bloc begins to unravel across Eastern Europe. Newly freed nations look west. Germany reunifies, and other Eastern countries hope for democracy, investment, and security. But they don't get it. Europe is split. France and Italy, now under communist governments, remain silent. The UK, as has become the norm since the Second World War, defers to Washington. And Germany, still powerful economically, but cautious and inward looking, unwilling to lead politically, and untrusted by many of its neighbors. The result? NATO does not expand eastward. The US is willing, but its European partners are fragmented and hesitant. And into that vacuum, Moscow eventually returns. With no European Union to
Oh.
pull Eastern
Mm.
Europe westward, the USSR, first under Yeltsin and then more so Putin, moves to reassert control. It offers energy deals, military protection, and political support to vulnerable post-communist governments. Eventually, Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova, Bulgaria, Romania, and Serbia fall back into Moscow's orbit. Others, like Poland and the Baltics, resist, but without support, their democratic hopes are shattered and short-lived. Meanwhile,
Oh.
Germany's influence also grows rapidly, as it signs major trade deals with Czechia, Slovakia, and Hungary, drawing them further into its sphere of influence. And then, by 20
I wonder if, these naming these countries and drawing these lines of trades, is he basing it on something like logically, or he's just like randomly throwing countries? Like, so he
Mm.
said like what Czechia, Slovakia, he signs deal with Germany. Has there been something in history that indicated this would
I
have
think
happened?
so.
Or is just like, oh, we have to put these countries somewhere. Let's put it with Germany.
Mm.
2020, the continent has settled into three major power zones: a Russian bloc extending deep into Eastern and Central Europe, a German-led economic zone, wealthy but cautious, focused on trade, not political strategy, and a US-aligned group, the UK, Ireland, and the Nordics, military secure but politically
Mm.
dependent on Washington. And then there's France and Southern Europe, fragmented, unstable, and unpredictable. They drift from one influence to
Oh.
another, chasing short-term interests. One day it's Russia, the next day it's America or Berlin. And worst of all, a new Cold War is brewing, not between two superpowers, but between rival blocs in Europe, due to diverging interests, and a continent that simply never came together. Okay, let's rewind. That might have gotten a little bit out of hand. It was
It
a lot of
did.
fun to write, though. And
It
yes,
did.
some of this may have sounded exaggerated or far-fetched, because predicting 50 years of history from a single turning point is, of course, super speculative, especially in a short video like this. But we do believe that some of it could have happened if it wasn't for the EU. Economic recovery definitely would have slowed, and extremist movements always gain ground in times of crisis. And Eastern Europe might never have seen the post-Soviet recovery it did. And an aggressive Russia
Yeah, I do think the EU helped Eastern Lithuania on them a lot to integrate and economies to grow. Yeah, for sure.
filling the gaps left by a divided Europe, well, that part almost writes itself. So, let's shift to what could have been to what actually happened. In 1950, instead of collapsing under division, Europe made a different choice. The French Foreign Minister Robert Schuman proposed something radical, the Schuman Plan, to place French and German coal and steel production under a shared authority. The idea was super simple, but bold. If you make war materially impossible, you make peace politically inevitable. The plan succeeded. In 1951, the European Coal and Steel Community was born. In 1957, it became the European Economic Community, laying the foundations for shared trade, free movement, and common laws. And in 1992, the Maastricht Treaty officially created the European Union, a union of countries bound not just by treaties, but by shared values, democracy, human rights, the rule of law, and peace. We often talk about geopolitics in numbers.
It's crazy to see how your family has lived like a life before the European Union.
My family?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know all the stories about the
That's
communist
amazing.
communist version, yeah.
Militaries, trade flows, regulations. But at its very core, it's about people. The people who live in Europe. Us. And our sense of belonging to a city, a nation, and increasingly to a shared European idea. Allowing us to be this instead of this. Honestly, the fact that we live in a world where a united Europe even exists, that's kind of a miracle. We, a united Europe, are the alternate timeline. And to celebrate the beginning of that journey, Europe Day was established every 9th of May across the continent. It's a
Oh,
wow.
so
Every
today,
9th of May, that's the day.
yeah. So today
Wow,
is
happy
Europe Day.
Europe
Happy
Day.
Europe
Happy
Day.
Europe
Yeah.
Day.
That's why he's making this video.
Wow.
Okay, now it makes sense. Wow.
27 countries, each with their own cultures, languages, and histories, yet still bound by shared values. The European Cultural Foundation has believed in the idea and its cultural roots for over 70 years. They support projects that bring Europeans together across borders through art, conversation, and creativity. Their mission
That's
to
really
nurture a sense of
cool.
Yeah.
belonging and to show that Europe
That's
is
the
not
first
just
time you're
policy,
hearing
it's
this.
the people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I
And
wonder
the
when they
European Cultural
started.
Foundation has put together a list of events happening near you this Europe Day. Follow the link in the description to find out how you can participate and celebrate the European spirit. And there are also events
Wow.
after Europe Day. Want to highlight? Let's work to improve the internet, happening Saturday, 14th of June in Amsterdam. At this hands-on event, you'll explore how to become less dependent.
Okay, so I think maybe the Europe Day website sponsored this post. That's why he's doing it.
Oh,
Interesting,
that's
cool.
cool.
Yeah, cool. I didn't know that. That's very nice.
Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And as always, share as much kindness as possible.